They got smacked. They got smacked too bad.
Hello, welcome to Limon. Welcome to the Limon Heritage Museum. My name is Mary Anderson. I'm the operations manager here, or I call myself the schmo. Whatever needs done, we wind up doing. Anyway, a sad reason to be here, but we'd like to welcome everyone to Eastern Colorado.
Thank you, Mary. If we can all just take a deep breath together. And if we can just present ourselves in a posture of just centering, because we've all come with different emotions and different stories and different experiences. And today, in this centering moment, there is one person that is bringing us together. One person by the name of Preston Porter. One person who was killed, lynched, burned. One person where that heinous act has now brought us together to instill hope and justice in an unjust world. St. Augustine says, hope has two daughters. Their names are anger and courage. Anger at the way things are, and the courage to ensure they do not remain that way. So as whatever we bring into this moment, we bring it, we honor it, we honor the land, the stolen land that we stand upon. Remembering those indigenous human beings. Remembering now that we are coming together, centering ourselves in a place of hope, in a place of transformation, and a place of liberation. A place of sharing a story so now our brother can rest. A place, a moment where now his blood no longer needs to cry from the ground. Because now we are speaking his name and we are honoring him and his family and the person that he represents for the countless people that were lynched physically, mentally, metaphorically, emotionally to this day. So we honor you for being here today. We honor those leaders that looked beyond their own hurt and their own passions and compassions and decided to come together in this profound moment to move us together toward love, peace, justice, and liberation. In African tradition, religions, and spirituality, we close centering moments like this with the word Ashe. Ashe means speaking it into life. It is so. I agree. So if you would be so compassionate and loving and justice-filled to join me in closing this centering moment with the word Ashe. And let's say it together. Ashe. Ashe.
I am Rosemary Lytle, State President of the NAACP, Colorado, Montana, Wyoming. This is the historical perspective on lynchings. Between 1920 and 1938, whenever reports came in that an African American person had been killed by a murderous mob, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People would fly a flag outside its office in Manhattan. It simply said, "A man was lynched yesterday." For years, the NAACP used that flag as a stark symbol of its anti-lynching campaign. It forced passers-by to do more than simply pass by. It brought them into the reality of racial violence. The beloved NAACP, with its field resources and its membership, documented 4,700 and 53 lynchings in the country from 1882 to 1968. The Tuskegee Institute also documented American lynchings, and the Equal Justice Initiative carries on its work. Scholarly and public narrative tells us that lynchings happened for many reasons and for no reason. Besides allegations of sexual assault, justifications for lynching black men documented by the NAACP and historian John Hope Franklin in 30 Years of Lynching in the United States were bumping into a white girl while running to catch a train, knocking on the door of a white woman's home, arguing with a white man, suing a white man, calling a police officer by his name instead of referring to him as Mr. Lynchings involved torture, including burning victims alive, drowning, stoning, beating, shooting, or multiple tortures at once, sometimes when a person had already been murdered. Violent overkill. Black women were lynched. Black children were lynched. Markers and statues dot this entire country, courtyards and highways everywhere, with statues to Confederate veterans. But until recently, there were few markers for the victims of racial terror and police overreach and official violence. All of those things remain with us. We cannot mourn and memorialize Preston Porter Jr., but fail to mourn and memorialize Michael Brown, Eric Garner, Jordan Davis, Sandra Bland, Freddie Gray, Philando Castile. When we say his name, we must say their names. Say their names. Racism, hate, white supremacy, white fragility, white jealousy, all of those things remain threats that hang over all black people even today, even those with money, with education, with titles, with positions, and those without, can be killed by the police for any reason, for a traffic stop, for selling CDs, for selling cigarettes, shot to death, choked to death, tasered to death, driven to death, standing still, fleeing, shot in the chest, shot in the back, hands up, hands down, point blank range, or at a distance. Less than 1% of those who were part of lynch mobs were ever brought to justice at the hands of persons unknown continues today. We remain the only so-called first world country which kills its own people. Strange fruit. Here is fruit for the crows to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rot, for the trees to drop. Here is a strange and bitter crop.
So unfortunately, the only reason we know anything about Preston Porter Jr. was because of how he died at 16. 16. He was born in Ohio, made his way to Kansas, Lawrence with his family, and he worked for the railroad. He didn't even live in Limon. He'd been in Limon for a couple of weeks before he was killed here. He was scared, afraid, and not at home. He was 16. And there's only so much we know about him. We know he was religious. We know he spent his last hours reading from Scripture and eventually tearing out pages to share with the people that would kill him. We know that he was kind We know that he loved his brother and his father who were with him. But there's so much we don't know about Preston Porter Jr. My friend Jovan Mays is going to bring a poem talking about that a little bit.
This poem's called To Preston. Sometimes I wonder, at what age do we know our songs? At what time do our bodies become our melodies, our cadences, our chords? I can still hear my grandma humming a melody into a meal. I wonder what your dad sang, Preston, to trick you and your brothers' hunger into bedtime, to trick the house into cradling itself to sleep. Yeah, sometimes I wonder. I wonder if we all have the same fascinations of fire. Lord knows you must not. The act of putting a fresh log into a stove and watch the house cradle itself to sleep. Did you ever wonder where embers go? Have you imagined their return to the sun? I hope you did, Preston. A star ain't nothing but a fire. You know, I've gathered lumber from winters, and I know you know such work. How to get into a log hurling rhythm, how to trick up the speed to stack fast. They call a full bed of firewood a cord, and 4 full cords should get you through the winter. But there's those chords again. Did you get to know your song, Preston? They say in music a chord is a harmony of 3 notes, and I think about you, signing the pages of the Gospel of Luke and handing them to your future executioners, and how they used those invitations to your concert, your solo on the stake, your terror on that tie, the cadence of your chains, the choral of your kerosene accenting a symphony of splinters as your throat became their justice. Do you think they heard you, Preston? Did they register the register of your wails, your weeping? Did they, Preston? Did they hear your family in your lungs? Did they see your human as your skin molted? Did they catch the signals in your smoke? On the eastern plains of Colorado, the wind can be spellbounding. Some say it can even sweep. And Lord, how we saw them sweep you, Preston. Under our flagged rug, swept your remains so that you would not. But I think of a sweep, Preston. How it can be lifting. How it can carry you when you can't carry yourself. Oh, I know wind. Out here in these plains, they farm wind to recharge. Turn binded, they watch their houses cradle themselves to sleep. And at night, when it's just you and the moon, if you listen real deep, you'll hear the wind howl. They say that wolves wail to the sky to call the pack. And what else is a howl but a song? Calling us in to a choir of chords, bottled in confession and confusion, teenaged and tormented, wondering if it was ever heard. And somewhere in all that brimstone, in all that char, in that Holocaust combustion was a song constructed by a Preston Porter Jr. We learn your chords, and on the eastern plains every time we hear this wind, it calls us in, reminding us that we have some songs to teach. Thank you.
You need a minute too? Yes. Where did he go? Thank you. Ashe. My name is Elizabeth Epps. I was going to be okay, actually, brother. I was going to be okay. To Preston, dear Preston, thank you. I had a chance a couple of weeks ago to be in Montgomery, Alabama. where my black son lived past 16. He's made it to 21. Is a senior in college in Montgomery, Alabama. And we went to the Equal Justice Initiatives, the museum, and the memorial. Go when you can. And there's a shelf. The shelf doesn't do it justice. There's a wall of containers like this with names. And as I've told some of you, you know, the Alabama row is long, and the Mississippi's got rows. Mississippi, goddamn, as our sister sang to us years ago. Carolinas and Georgia. But then sure enough, there's a place for Colorado. And Limon failed this baby in life, and Denver failed this baby in life, and Colorado did. And I'm so incredibly honored to be in this space with you all. One of the things that connects us, in addition to the land and the dirt, and when you have a chance to go there or even see it online, you'll see, one of the other things that connects us is black women. So this baby came to us from a black woman. And in Montgomery, the vestiges of black women who teach us, who lead us, like our sister who opened, it's all through the memorial, all through the museum. And on 2 Mondays ago, we had the opportunity at the Denver City Council, which was a place where city elected officials saw fit to send this baby to his death. I'm not minimizing that he's 16 and a young man, but he's a baby. He's a baby to me. And we had a chance, where's Ms. Goodman, to stand in this chamber and read a proclamation, or to have presented to us a proclamation from the Denver City Council. And words matter. And we had an opportunity to engage those there in the words that we're going to ask you to join us in now. And it's connected to the woman that he came from, the women that he didn't live to father. Who knows, right? Who knows? And so it's call and response. Our sister mentioned an African tradition, and it's one that stayed with us in the black church, and well, if you're from the South, the white churches too. But call and response. And so I'm going to say this, and you just give it back to me with all that you have for Preston, to Preston, dear Preston. It's call and response, so you repeat, but also if you know it, just say it with me. It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love each other and support each other.
We must love each other and support each other.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our
We
chains.
have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Thank you.
Ashe.
Ashe.
So now we're going to have a chance to do what we came here to do. We're doing what we came here to do. The soil that's already in the jars is from where the Denver jail was, where he was kept and tortured for 3 days until he finally was coerced into a confession. Positive that he was not going to be killed because Colorado did not have a death penalty. But Denver sent him back anyway. So this is soil from where he was kept. And the soil in the jar is as close as we could possibly get to where we think it happened here. About 1.5 miles that way, down the railroad track, where he was taken off. We all have a part to play in this. We all fit into the story somehow. And I encourage everyone to think about where you fit in as we all come forward to put our piece into the jars. The glass one to your left will go somewhere in Colorado. It'll remain in Colorado, though. The plastic jar to the right will be sent to Alabama and will be installed in the museum. So as you feel led, come forward and put your piece in.
we